this is a group activity. Remember, it's interactive. We're not going to huddle up and change chairs. We're just going to sit there and everybody read it, and we might talk amongst ourselves. You have your handout one. It's your Fatality and Catastrophe report. Now you can find this, it says on here, this is what you're supposed to do if we have a smaller class, but this is too big of a class. This is, if you go to the OSHA, it's, type in your weekly fatality reports, this is up through September 10th. It takes a little while to get. Okay, you guys have one from like 2009, I think.
Oh, 2011.
I substituted. The one in the handouts from 2009. I stuck a newer one. Okay, but if you look through it, some of these things, just read through these. Okay, some of these things are things that you guys do. Okay, you do every day. Yeah, you guys don't really do that. Okay, a worker was electrocuted when his aluminum ladder touched the 7,200 volt overhead power line. Where do you find a 7,200 volt overhead power line? A lot of times, right, going along the street outside your house. Okay, those are distribution lines. They're usually 2,400 or 7,200. They go to a transformer on your pole or in the box in your front yard, as in my case. And then they get transformed down to what goes in your house? 220 goes into your house, for the most part. Okay, so that 7,200 volts is right on the street outside your house. Okay, or when you're digging your flower bed, you know, and you hit that underground line, that's 7,200 volts. Okay, so that's kind of okay. Worker trimming a tree died after falling 55 feet headfirst onto a concrete surface. 55 feet. Now, does that mean necessarily the tree was 55 foot tall?
The bucket he was in.
No, he could have been in a bucket. He could have been on, yeah, a lot of places. Like in my yard, I have a retaining wall. Okay, mine's not 55 feet, but that could contribute to the height. Or he could have said, "Oh dear, we don't have to call. I'll just climb this tree." And, you know, take his chainsaw and his belt like the things on TV. Okay?
That motorcycle went down there. A guy was just loading a motorcycle in the back of the truck and fell off the wheel around and hit his head back.
Which one's that one? Oh, it's on your sheet? Okay. It's everyday stuff, right? This is everyday stuff. Now, what OSHA deals with is these guys are pretty much industry-related type stuff, okay? So they could have been at work. Everyone starts with worker, okay? Everyone starts with worker. So it doesn't count when you climb the tree unless you're working for somebody, okay? But these are things you guys do every day. I mean, somebody in here gets on an aluminum ladder outside and either fixes their gutter or fixes a shingle or whatever, okay? So these are things everybody does, all right? So any questions on this guy? This is one of the rights that you have is you have the ability to check this type stuff as a worker, okay? You have the ability to see, this is on, it's posted on OSHA. If something happens inside your company, you have the right to read the report that we're going to cover. It's like handout 5 or 6, okay? So, whoops, do that. There we go. All right, history of OSHA. What does OSHA stand for? Okay, it doesn't stand for this one. Okay, it's underneath the Department of Labor. Okay, their responsibility is your safety and health. Okay, safety and health protection of the worker is their prime objective. Okay, it came into effect December 29th. Nixon signed. That's the OSHA Act I was talking about. Okay, that's the act that established OSHA. The agency itself wasn't created by signing this act until April of '71, 4 months later. Okay. Okay. Now this is not part of OSHA, but this is one of the big things that got people to start thinking about safety of the worker. Okay. This thing happened in 1911. It happened in New York. for this company. I'm not gonna go through this. This has a ton of stuff, okay? It's all, you can scroll through it. It's pretty interesting, actually. You can read the story, all the documents, interviews with the survivors, okay? But what happened, this is kind of an introduction, okay? Triangle Waste Company in New York City, 146 young people died. Most of them were women and teenagers, okay? This talks about, if you read through this, talks about the work conditions. In this case, there was no equipment to put fires out. There was no escape. Well, there were escape ladders, but they fell down when the building caught on fire. All the exit doors were locked because people were, hard times, people were walking out the back door with stuff, you know, to take home. So the bosses had all the exits locked. There were no emergency exits. There were exits. They were all locked. There was one way in and one way out. And this building caught on fire, okay? 146 people. If you want to read through this, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It even gets kind of victims list, right? That's all the names of people who died. You can click on somebody, Ida, she's 19. I can't pronounce her last name. Single, Jewish, born in Russia. I mean, this site gets into this kind of stuff, okay? So it has a model of the floor, which doesn't, I looked at it, but doesn't tell a lot. It happened on, I think, the 7th, or the 8th and 9th floors. The ladders they had to get people out only went to the 6th floor. They couldn't make it because the doors were locked to the stairs to go down to the floors below, so they couldn't even make it to the 6th floor to get out, okay? So if you look at the stuff that was in there, locked doors, the fire escape collapsed, all these whole list of things that contributed. No sprinkler system. They had pails of water to put fires out, okay? So, I mean, you guys have gone to a campfire and taken your bucket of water and poured it on there, and it doesn't put your campfire out, okay? Unless you have a little sternum. If the whole wall's on fire, what's a couple buckets of water going to do? Nothing. Okay, so this is a typical incident that happened. It happened, I won't say a lot, but it happened often, and it opened people's eyes. It was very, you know, negative. And the big thing about it is the owners of this company weren't held responsible. Okay, because those people chose to work there. That's how the owners thought. Those guys are choosing to work there. They didn't have to come to work that day. They didn't have to take this job, you know, just because their little babies aren't being fed, that kind of stuff. So this was the typical atmosphere way back at, you know, the late 1800s, turn of the century, 1900s. This type of thing, and just because of OSHA doesn't mean it stopped, okay? It just has lessened a whole lot. So this is the kind of thing that, that OSHA was patterned around to try to eliminate these type of things. So if you guys want to go to this website, it's in, I'll post these slides, or Jeremy will post them because I don't know how. So, or if you wait for me to do it, it may or may not get done correctly. So, but anyway, it's there if you want to read on it. I've read a whole lot of these pages, and it's pretty interesting. A few photographs and illustrations. I didn't look at that. Do I want to go there?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this is just people there having a good time. Let's see if there's one that... Scraps litter the floor of most garbage shops. Okay, so that's, just think of a spark, okay? That's, uh-oh. If this is my doctor, I'm calling a break. Okay, so just imagine one little spark, okay? So how many of you guys that smoke, or know people that smoke, have been sitting in class for 2 hours and start shaking? Okay, well these people are working for 10 hours, everybody smoked back then, so they're over in the corner, you know, the spark drops to the floor. Look at this picture and look what can burn there, and think of how fast it's going to go up. Okay, there was nothing to protect the workers, nothing at all. So,
Mike, do they know what caused the fire?
Yes.
Was it a spark?
yes, I don't remember, but yes, it talks about that in there. I don't remember. I read it like a month and a half ago when I made up this first PowerPoint that got deleted. Actually, it might be out there in cyberspace somewhere.